project that the CIA had where to try to flush him out or to find out where he is kind of thing. I guess that they had run this vaccination operation where children from various places were vaccinated with, they're not really vaccines.
Really?
At least they gave us some vaccines for real.
Yeah, I mean, what did it cost to actually include vaccines?
They didn't actually, they didn't actually give vaccines. That's my understanding of the report I read. But in addition, when it becomes known in the local population, where there is suspicion of Western medicine, Western vaccines and so forth, this seems like something that will probably really set back real attempts at vaccination.
That raises another aspect. I mean, you've already touched on it. How much are you in an active state of conflict if you come from outside? Because going back to your vaccines example, the mistrust of vaccines, the whole anger was actually driven by the ruling regime and the army in Pakistan, two big, very corrupt institutions in control.
Yeah.
And they're the elites, they're not on the people's side. They were pushing the whole, the West abused the vaccines to try and get info on us, and they were really pushing that really hard. So if you're going to a developing nation, how much are you reinforcing exploitative power structures and how much are you undermining them? And when you're undermining other people in their own country, again, that's another very, very tricky question. Could you please comment a bit more on that?
It's something that I'm not sure that I have there's an easy answer to, but I do wrestle with this question of how to communicate it. And in some ways I've sort of gotten into debates on these in India through some blog posts which have stirred up controversy because I take positions and being outside, having taken sort of the view from afar, I have a different perspective, but sometimes that runs into problems with these more entrenched structures that have their own ongoing conflicts, and they don't like hearing something that sort of might be in between. So in conservation, for example, there's often the debate about people versus wildlife. That's a deep conflict, and if I remember, every time I go back to India and get together with friends who are doing conservation there, it doesn't take more than half an hour to get into this all night long arguments about people's rights versus wildlife, that kind of thing. And then increasingly I find myself sort of fighting with both sides because my approach is to I teach reconciliation ecology and trying to find ways to get past that conflict. But both the sides are quite entrenched, and again the bureaucracy has its own views, which makes it very difficult to even operate and do research sometimes because of, again, permits and issues and institutional structures and so on. So I can see potential for taking on the role of a provocateur, and that can, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've been offered this column in Current Conservation, because the editors there see the potential for me to sort of shake things a little bit. But I'm not sure that, because I'm from India and people sort of know me, that they're willing to let me do that to some extent. I don't know how much they will accept somebody, an American, for example, coming and saying that. Because it's easy to, get your hackles up. In fact, I get accused of, you've gone there and become too American sometimes. So I don't know that there's a clear answer to that, but I think that's something we have to try and consciously engage in. Yes?
What you just said sort of connects to something sort of still amorphous that I've been thinking about in terms of science